Good morning, I'm Angelo Castro III.
I'm Angela, and we're the Castros.
We bring you the news.
And the views that make you think.
Sometimes we agree.
Sometimes we don't.
This is News and Views.
And here are today's headlines.
Cardinal Robert Francis Prevost from the United States has been elected as the new leader of the Catholic Church, taking the name Pope Leo XIV.
Messages of support and optimism pour in after Cardinal Robert Francis Prevost's election as the new Pope.
Vice President Sara Duterte led the kickoff of PDP Laban's meeting the Avance in Manila yesterday.
The first impeachment complaint against President Ferdinand Bongbong Marcos was set to be filed. However, it appears the case has hit a temporary roadblock.
Habemus Papam.
Cardinal Robert Francis Prevost has been elected the new leader of the Catholic Church, succeeding Pope Francis. Here's the report.
The crowd at St. Peter's Basilica erupted in cheers on Thursday as white smoke billowed from the chimney of the Sistine Chapel. This was the signal that the 133 cardinal electors had chosen the 267th leader of the Catholic Church.
Habemus Papam.
Shortly after, Cardinal Dominic Mamberti announced that Cardinal Robert Francis Prevost from the United States had been elected Pope. He took the name Pope Leo XIV. In his first appearance at the central balcony of St. Peter's Basilica, Pope Leo XIV called on the Church to build bridges, urging unity and peace in a world divided by conflict. He also paid tribute to his predecessor, the late Pope Francis. The new pontiff donned the traditional red cape of the papacy, a symbol Pope Francis had refrained from wearing during his election in 2013. Pope Leo XIV was elected on the second day of the conclave, which began on Wednesday, May 7.
Meanwhile, in the wake of the election of Cardinal Robert Prevost as the new leader of the Catholic Church, the world has responded with messages of support and optimism. U.S. President Donald Trump called it a great honor for the United States and expressed anticipation for a meaningful moment when he meets the new Pope. Former U.S. President Barack Obama also sent his greeting and offered prayers for Pope Leo XIV as he takes on the sacred responsibility of guiding the Catholic Church. Former U.S. President George W. Bush joined others in offering prayers for the new pontiff's success, especially in his service to the neediest and his mission to share God's love. In Italy, Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni extended her congratulations, emphasizing that Italians will look to people or to Pope Leo XIV as a guide and a moral authority. Meantime, Colombian President Gustavo Petro took a moment to remind the world that Pope Leo XIV, though American, has deep roots in Latin America. Petro expressed hopes that the new pontiff will be a strong advocate for migrants, particularly in light of the challenges they face in the United States.
Pope Leo XIV takes center stage in the Vatican, and with him a new era begins for the Catholic Church. Let's get to know him in this report.
Congratulations.
Born in Chicago in 1955, Robert Francis Prevost is a member of the Augustinian Order, an international community known for its emphasis on humility and service. He holds a bachelor's degree from Villanova University in Philadelphia a master's from the Catholic Theological Union in Chicago, and a doctorate in church law from Rome's Pontifical College of St. Thomas Aquinas. He entered the order in 1977 and was sent to Peru as a missionary in 1985, a country he would eventually call home. Prevost returned to the U.S. in 1999 to take on leadership of the Augustinian Order, and later moved to Rome to serve 2 6-year terms as its global head. Fluent in 5 languages, including Spanish, Italian, and French, he has traveled extensively as a leader of the Augustinian Order. In 2014, the late Pope Francis brought him back to Peru to serve as Archbishop of Chiclayo. The following year, Prevost became a Peruvian citizen. He worked closely with migrant communities, especially displaced Venezuelans, and built a reputation for his hands-on approach to ministry. In 2023, Pope Francis appointed him cardinal and named him head of the Vatican office tasked with selecting bishops, one of the Church's most crucial roles. And while he never sought the spotlight, those who know him describe a man guided by justice, community, and compassion. Now 69, he takes the name Leo XIV, signaling continuity and a commitment to Francis's vision. As he once said, "Our work is to enlarge the tent, to let everyone know they are welcome in the church." His life has been one of quiet service. Now, he steps into the most public role of all, as leader of the world's 1.4 billion Catholics.
To talk more about the election of Pope Leo XIV, we have Father Ari Sison, spokesperson of Diocese of Cubao. Magandang umaga po sa inyo, Father. Welcome to News and News.
Magandang umaga.
Opo, hingi po kami ng inyong, ano po bang naramdaman po ninyo nung lumabas po doon po sa balcony, no, ng St. Peter's Basilica ang ating bagong Santo Papa?
Tuwang-tuwa. Tuwang-tuwa ako nung lumabas sa balcony si Pope Leo XIV. Hindi ko akalaing ganito kabilis. No?
Yes,
In-expect ko kasi ang yung mga recent conclaves were 2 to 3 days long, no? Pero yung mga cardinal na mismo ang nagsasabi na malamang maging mahaba ang conclave na ito kasi this is the biggest conclave ever. Remember, there are 133 cardinal electors compared to the past years. Noong 2013, 115 lang sila. And, one of the biggest challenges of a conclave is to get to know each other. And because of the big number and because this is the first time many of them are meeting each other, they had to issue name tags. So the cardinals were wearing name tags simply because they did not know each other. And because of that fact, I was really thinking it's going to be long. I don't know how long, but longer than the past year. So I really got a very big surprise when white smoke came out after the 4th ballot.
Yeah, Father, we were all surprised. Just like you, we were expecting this to be a long, drawn-out conclave. At least, at the very least, kala namin Saturday or kaya Sunday morning because of you said madaming mga cardinal electors. Pero ang question ko dito, Fathers, were you surprised at all by the yung pagpili kay Cardinal Prevost because he wasn't initially in the front-runners list?
I was ready to be surprised. Many of those who were asking me if I have a particular candidate for this conclave, I told them that I have stopped doing that. Kasi I learned my lesson from the 2013 conclave when Cardinal Bergoglio was not in anybody's list.
That's right.
We have a saying that, okay, we have the papabili, the preferiti, but there is a saying that he who enters the conclave, a pope, comes out a cardinal. So I prepared myself to be surprised. And so this was a very happy surprise for me.
So I'd like to ask you in relation to our new Pope, Father, what does this signify for you based on the man, si Cardinal Prevost, and what he's done before? And taking the new name Leo the 14th. No? So yung character niya plus yung new name, what do you think now the direction of the church will be going to?
First of all, let's clarify that the Pope is the successor of Saint Peter. He is the vicar of Christ on earth. And it's not a matter of being conservative, liberal, traditional, progressive. No, it is a matter of fulfilling the mandate that Jesus gave to the apostles, which is to proclaim the good news to all the nations. Pope Francis had his own style. No, Pope Leo clearly, as from his very first message at the balcony, showed we can see that he is working along the same themes. No, but at the same time, he has a totally different experience. I like the combination. He is born in America, but worked in Peru. He is a learned man. He holds a doctorate in canon law, and yet at the same time, he is a missionary and a pastor. Parang ang ganda-gandang combination ng theory and practice. So I am very, very happy about Pope Leo the 14th, and I'm very, very hopeful, that he is the right Pope at this time, and he is a gift of God to the Church.
Yun nga po, Father, amidst all the noise of the list of papabile and yung mga frontrunners na pinag-uusapan prior to this conclave, here you are, makikita mo biglang nag-rise someone who is very quiet, and talagang na-surprise tayong lahat. And I think all the cardinals were really clearly guided by the Holy Spirit. And Father, my question would be, kailan po ba, ano po yung magiging proseso, kailan po natin unang maririnig ang unang misa ng ating bagong Santo Papa sa St. Peter's Basilica?
I'm very sure the following day he will say Mass with the cardinals for the very first time. Ang wala pa tayong information ngayon, kailan gagawin yung kanyang investiture as Pope. Si Pope Francis, Cardinal Bergoglio, was elected Pope May 13, 2013. His investiture happened on, Pope Francis, March 13, 2013. And then yung investiture niya took place March 19, the Solemnity of St. Joseph. Ito, let's see. But probably in a week's time, we will have his investiture as the 267th Pope.
I'd like to ask, Father, in the meantime, habang wala pa yung actual rite na investiture, does the Pope then start to appoint key figures in the Church, like the Secretary of the State, possibly the Carmelengo? Will he start doing that?
He can. Because the moment he accepted, remember, after the announcement of Pope receiving 2/3 of the majority, the one presiding this time, the one presiding the conclave goes to him to ask if he accepts. The moment he says yes, he is Pope. So even before the solemn investiture, he is already the Pope. So he can already practice that. He can appoint.
I understand na nakabisita po ng ilang mga pagkakataon si Pope Leo the 14th dito sa Pilipinas. One of which is yung sa Cebu. And
sa Cebu, noong year 2000, when he was Superior General of the Augustinians.
Right. But kayo po ba, do you have a personal interaction with the new Pope? Wala po.
No.
Okay. And what else can we expect po sa mga proseso po ngayon na meron na po tayong bagong Santo Papa moving forward?
Expect surprises. Expect surprises. Our God is a God of surprises. So be ready for surprises.
And of course, Father, with all the noise now dying down and the church settling back to business, ano po ang mensahe nitong conclave na nangyari, especially para sa mga Pilipino who's facing an election this Monday?
Right.
Yeah. First of all, let us thank God for giving us a new Pope in the person of Pope Leo XIV. And we pray to God for him, that God may bless him, that God may guide him, so that he in turn may guide us, the people of God. And now that the papal conclave is over, it is time for us to prepare and to pray for our own elections this coming Monday and to go out and vote.
Very well said, Father.
All right, and with that, I would like to thank you very much, Father Ari Sison, the spokesperson of the Diocese of Cubao. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you. God bless you.
Now, American pilgrims at the Vatican expressed awe and joy following the historic election of Pope Leo XIV, the first American pontiff. A mother from America went to the Vatican with her 2 children just to witness the historic papal conclave. She says it's a blessing to witness such history unfolding in front of them and described the experience as, quote, best of their lives.
We never expected an American president.
Among yourself!
Talk about history. Wow, what a blessing. What a blessing to be here. This is the best experience of our lives. Wow, God is just full of surprises.
The Manila Cathedral rang its bells in celebration of the election of Pope Leo XIV. For more updates, we have Mobile Journal Arles de los Santos. Arles?
Magandang umaga, Diego at Angela. Kanina ngang alas 12 hanggang alauna na madaling araw ay tumunog ang mga kampana ng Manila Cathedral bilang senyales na nahalal na nga ang ika-267th na Santo Papa ng Simbahang Katolika. Sinundan agad ito ng 7:30 a.m. na misa dito sa Manila Cathedral na dinaluhan ng mga kababayan natin mula sa iba't ibang panig ng Pilipinas. At pinangunahan niya ni Father Viel Bautista na sinimula ng kanyang homily sa pasasalamat at papuri dahil meron ng bagong lider ang Simbahang Katolika na magbibigkis sa napakaraming deboto nito sa maraming bansa sa mundo.
Oo, may mga nakausap ka pa dyan, Arles, sa mga kababayan natin na nagsimba ngayon. At ano yung kanilang mga nararamdaman ngayon meron na tayong bagong Santo Papa?
May ilan tayong nakapanayam, Angela, na ang sabi nila masaya, syempre, na meron ng bagong Santo Papa. Pero kasi isa sa mga naging matunog sa media at kahit sa social media ay ang papabili ng mga la sa Pilipinas, dila Cardinal Tagle at ang dark horse na si Cardinal David. Pero kung sino man nga daw ang naging Pope at hinalal ng mahigit 89, kung di ako nagkakamali, 89 na Cardinal sa Vatican ay siyang karapat-dapat at pinili ng Panginoon na manguna sa simbahan.
Ano pa yung mga ibang activities na aasahan natin dyan, no? Given that yesterday pa lang nabanggit kung sino yung bagong Pope. Are there gonna be masses scheduled for the Pope? Are there gonna be special prayers?
Dito sa Manila Cathedral, Diego, ay mayroong regular na misa talaga mula Lunes hanggang Biyernes. Dalawa yan, no? Isang 7:30 a.m. at isa namang 12:10 p.m. Pero ang kaibahan nito dahil nga nagsimula na ang conclave ay sa paunang mensahe ng pare na naglilid ay ang pasasalamat noong ngayon na napili na ang Santo Papa. Pero nung nagsisimula ang conclave ay ang dasal para sa magiging susunod na Santo Papa. Ngayong tanghali ay magkakaroon ng 12:30 p.m. Mass dito rin sa Manila Cathedral at bukas ito para sa publiko.
Alright, maraming salamat sa iyong oras, mobile journalist, Arles de los Santos. Right, so very...
Habemus Papa.
Oo so sobra talagang na-excite tayo sa pag-aabang and it was really fast na malaman natin na
alam mo,
kagabi lang na nagkaroon na tayo ng bagong Santo Papa.
The beauty of the system is, of course, let's not deny it, we were hoping na ito would have been a Filipino Pope, but when in-announce yan, parang happy pa rin tayo because you come to an understanding why si Pope Leo XIV was chosen because di ba madami rin pinagdadaanan ng mga brothers and sisters natin in the States, a question of faith because of political turmoil, no? So it's just perfect to have a Pope that will, hopefully put the love and joy back into the hearts of our brother Americans over there. No? So congratulations to all of us in the Catholic Church. We now have a new Pope, Leo XIV.
And now we move forward.
Ako?
Diba? At aasikasuhin natin yung what else, diba, na dapat nating gawin.
And hopefully he will be with us for a long, long time.
Yeah.
And when it's time to have another conclave, malamang mega senior lolo na ako.
Pero yun nga, I forgot to point this out kay Father kanina, yung pagiging Augustinian niya.
Yes,
ni Pope Leo XIV.
And prior to him, Jesuit naman si
Pope
Francis.
Nga nila kasi ang mga Augustinian ang mga responsible para sa mga Pilipino, 'di ba, to convert Roman
Very
Catholicism.
first to convert us into Catholicism.
Yes, at saka yun nga ang mga Augustinian, more on yung kanilang teaching sa education, sa healthcare, and yun nga yung
and they're
social
known,
justice.
just like the Jesuits for their yung missionary,
missionary
approach,
work,
missionary work. Ground level sila kung magtrabaho. In other words, they go to different countries, they give the teachings of Christ, actual physical help, food, shelter, ganon. So,
what's tawag dito na natuwa talaga din ako dun sa isang naging parte ng kanyang speech last night is yung sabi niya, the church should build bridges and welcome everyone. So yun nga sinasabi natin when we were talking about prior to the conclave na 'di ba tatlo nga yung wing na tinitingnan nila, yung traditional, yung liberal and the moderate wing. And ito si Pope Leo XIV ay nanggaling nga daw dun sa moderate wing which would like to have a dialogue, build bridges, etc.
Which is perfect because si Pope Francis was trying to accept all faiths. Diba? Malamang, it doesn't matter kung sino yung natin. Basta we have to be civil with each other. And it's just perfect because ang daming nabanggit sa media about left, leaning right, progressive, liberal.
And here you are, this quiet.
And here you are, you have this quiet cardinal who rose from the ashes and who is known as somebody who is in the middle.
Yeah.
In other words, he's fair to both sides, which is what we need right now. Bumalik muna tayo sa
division, but bridges.
Diba, let's lessen the noise, bumalik tayo sa silence, and then let's rebuild our faith, reflect. Diba? And I think he is the perfect man for the job.
And like Pope Francis also, tinignan natin yung mga stance niya on certain issues. And one of which is yung kanyang, dahil nga matagal siya sa Peru, yung love niya for the immigrants sa Peru, ay talagang naging very critical siya doon sa mga policy ni US President Donald Trump.
Saka sabi
ganun din, no? Sa climate change, is also an environmentalist, if you can say that. Yeah,
before we move on, ang sabi nila, the next Pope, while sana hindi daw masyadong continuation ni Pope Francis, but rather a similar Pope to Pope Francis, but has his own style.
Para yun yung sinasabi nila.
So he has the same ideas as Pope Francis, but you could see may sarili siyang estilo because si Pope Francis was known as a pastor, somebody who goes to ground level, missionary work. Si Pope Leo has the same characteristics, but he's also what they call an intellectual pope, very similar also to Benedict. Deep-rooted in canon law, in Vatican II.
Kaya masabi education.
Education. Diba? He has both. So he has a combination, sabi ni Father interview natin, he has both the characteristics of somebody who goes down to the ground, and meron din siyang intellect ability. So let's see.
In
exciting.
1982, I was looking at it when he was newly ordained. Tsaka na-meet niya si Pope John Paul naman.
Ang bata pa niya,
Ang bata pa niya. And tapos he speaks 3 languages aside from English, diba? Latin, Italian, and French.
Similar to
Galing niya,
Cardinal
diba?
Tagle.
And he's a mathematician.
Multilingual din si Cardinal Tagle.
Marami pa tayong stories about it, but we'll be back with more stories about after the break. Keep it here on One News. Good morning. You're still watching News and Views here on One News. Vice President Sara Duterte led the kick-off of PDP Laban meeting the Avance in Manila on May 8. VP Sara endorsed one by one the senatorial slate of PDP dubbed as Duterte. In her speech, she criticized President Bongbong Marcos, accusing him of misleading the public about rice prices and evading a public drug test. Despite her criticisms, she said she will still vote for the president's sister, Senator Amy, who she praised for investigating alleged abductions. VP Sara's sister, Kitty, also spoke in support of their father, former President Rodrigo Duterte, who is currently detained by the International Criminal Court.
Pinamumunuan din tayo ngayon ng isang taong patuloy pa ring tumatanggi, sumailalim sa isang pampublikong hair follicle drug test at nagsinungaling sa 20 pesos ang bigas.
Your battle is my battle. Mabuhay ka at mabuhay ang Pilipinas!
ACT-CIS Representative Erwin Tulfo topped the final SWS senatorial survey for the May 12 elections. Re-electionist Senator Bongo followed closely with 43%, slipping from his previous top spot. Former Senate President Tito Soto climbed to third place with 37%, while re-electionist Senator Lito Lapid and veteran broadcaster Ben Tulfo tied at 34%. 8 members of the Alyansa para sa Bagong Pilipinas are in the probable winning circle. The survey commissioned by a Strat-based group was conducted nationwide from May 2 to 6 with 1,800 respondents. Now, 3 days to go before the midterm elections, let's talk to COMELEC spokesperson Rex Laujanco about their final preparations. Attorney, thank you very much for joining us again here on the News and Views.
Magandang umaga po, Sir Angelo, Ma'am Angela, and to all the viewers of News and Views. Good morning po.
All right, spokes, well, it's a Friday. Ilang araw na lang. All systems go. May nakikita ba kayong minor glitches or problems, or medyong we're on the right track?
We're on the right track po, as scheduled. Yung ating po timelines ay good naman po. Ang nakikita po naming challenges ngayon ay pagkalat ng fake news. Katulad kanina, may kumakalat daw po, huwag daw iwanan ng blank yung mga nagdesisyon na mag-undervote dahil baka daw mafilapan. Wala pong katotohanan yan dahil kayo po mismo mag-feed ng balota. Lalabas ang resibo nyo at ipapakita kung may overvote man o undervote at makikita nyo po sa screen mismo yung balota eksakto kung paano po na-shade. So agad-agad po nabibilang, naisisave, nai-record ang balota nyo at wala pong puwang yung sinasabi na merong mag-shade dun sa mga bakante po ng mga boto.
Kamusta naman po yung mga, kasi meron pong mga katanungan na spokes doon po sa transmission of votes. Can you explain it again with us para po sa ating audience also for today, especially yung magkakaroon daw po ng 15 minutes na parang lull without us knowing. Medyo may mga nagdududa daw po kasi doon.
Naku, wala pong katotohanan yan. Ito po ang proseso po ng ating botohan. Immediately after 7 p.m., magtatapos ang voting natin. Close voting po yan. Doon sa mga presinto po na merong pambotante, ayon sa batas, kailangan namin po silang pabotohin. So, matuubos muna po sila. At any rate, close voting po, kasunod na niyan. At pagkatapos po niyan ay magsusuma na, mag-generate na po ng first 9 election returns. Pagka-generate po niya ng kasunod na ay doon po ipaprompt ng ACM, yung ating EB chairperson, na ikabit na yung kanyang transmission device, whether Starlink po yan o yung Wi-Fi dongle natin o yung USB dongle. Pagkatapos po nun, siya na makapagtatransmit na ng resulta at tatanggalin na po niya yan pagkatapos ma-confirm yung transmission sa 6 na servers. Ulitin po natin, makapagtatransmit mula dun sa majority party, minority party, PPCRB, NAMFREL at media server at ika-6 pa nga po yung COMELEC server at meron pang ika-7 yung dapat pagtransmitan na whether municipal board or city board of canvassers. Pagkatapos po niyan, tutuloy na po ng pag-iimprenta ng 21 pang election return. At kung makikita niyo po sa lahat ng demonstration namin, wala po tayong nakitang delay. Ang importante po dito kasi makatransmit lahat ng resulta ng sa gayon, ang publiko agad-agad makita ang resulta sa server, maikumpara sa hawak na election return. At ang ordinaryong mamamayan ng bahagi ng presinto, puntahan po ninyo yung election results website. Real time, makikita po ninyo ang resulta mismo sa inyong presinto.
I think
Klaro, wala yung 15 minutes na kinakabahala.
I think spokes ang iniisip ng karamihan kasi ang parang lumalabas yung 15 minutes resulta, hindi po sa transmission, but yung pagre-reflect sa website, parang ang sinasabi kasi, mauuna muna by 15 minutes yung COMELEC bago po mag-update yung mga servers ng media. Ganun po ba mangyayari, Spokes?
Naku, hindi naman po 15 minutes. In fact, baka po 1 o 2 minuto lang yan. Bakit? Kasi po ang unang-una makakatanggap talaga po yung COMELEC server. Tapos po niya, naka-feed na po dun sa media kagad. In fact, millisecond po ang nakikita naming difference dun sa transmission ng server. Pero yung pong minuto na makikita nyo na sinasabi, ito po yan kasi. Yung ating pong server na makatatanggap ng ating PPCR, NAMPREL, media server, naka-airgap po yan sa mga laptops ng ating mga nakakabit na mga from KBP, media at iba pa. Ang mangyari po nun, purpose po talaga yung para hindi magkaroon ng virus. Yung pong pagkapagitan na yan, magkakaroon po ng issuing o transmitting server. Yun po ang magpapadala ng resulta sa kanila. So ito po ay isa sa safeguards natin para hindi magkaroon ng virus o malware yung receiving server ng ating mga kasamahan sa media, PPCRV, NAMPREL, majority party, minority party at iba pa. At yung 15 minutes po, hindi po yan lal. Makikita nyo po kagad kasi sa website namin, makikita nyo po kagad dun sa server. Yun nga lang, para makuha ng mga laptops ng ating mga journalists, reporters, and media, meron po talagang ilang minuto dahil kailangan mag-transfer between servers.
Yeah, thank you for clearing that, Spokes. No? It's similar to the United States also. May difference lang ng a few seconds o minutes kasi para nagva-virus check, may transmission problems. Spokes, I'd like to get also to may umiikot kasi sa social media about shading, no? While we experience firsthand the machine and to shade, paki-explain po sa mga kababayan natin about paano mag-shade. Kasi parang may lumalabas na masyado daw mabigat yung pen, masyado malaki yung pen, manipis daw yung papel, baka magtumagos sa kabila. Ang daming umiikot po na chismis. Baka you can clear it up, Spokes.
Naku, tama po yan. Una po sa lahat, ang ating pen napakagaang, manipis naman. Tama rin po kayo, makapal yung dulo. Ang purpose po niyan, sinadya yan. Nang sa gayong walang ambiguity, wala nang pagtataka, wala nang pagdududa. Pag idinikit nyo po sa bilog at yan ay boto nyo, counted na po kagad yan. Dahil pumaabot na kagad sa 15 to 20% yung shade natin. Isa pa yung papel, tama rin po, manipis. Yan naman po ay sinadya natin talaga. Una, laban sa jamming. Ikalawa, para po makatipid ang pamahalaan. At kita nyo naman po, malukot, tumagos, walang problema. Bakit? Ang mga bilog po nakatabi ng mga pangalan ng ating mga kandidato, magkakalayo. Imposible po na magkadikit sila. Imposibleng mamarkahan yung magkatabi unless sasadyain po talaga. Pag sinadya, makikita naman po natin guguhitan talaga. Doon naman po sa likod, tinignan na po natin at pinakita natin sa lahat, walang magkatapat na bilog sa first page at sa second page. So imposible rin po na bumoto sa harapan ay mabubutuhan sa likod na wala pong katotohanan lahat yan. Kanina po may nag-circulate din dyan daw po sa butuan na merong pong nag-final testing and sealing, hindi daw po nagtugma yung manual count at yung pong lumabas sa ER, may discrepancy daw po. Ito po yung mano-manong binilang at pinabulaanan na ng ating mga election supervisors, election officers, pati na rin ng mga teachers. Fake news po ito. Talagang meron pong gumagawa ng paraan. Hinahanap na po namin yung nagpakalat na yun dahil balak pong kasuhan ng COMELEC na.
Yeah, before I move to Angel, in relation lang sa sagot mo, Spokes, it's good you mentioned it. Sinabi mo yung pen is specifically designed na kahit hindi mo i-shade talaga, idikit mo lang sa actual, sa balot, sa circle, pasok na sa threshold. Is that right? Tama ba ang dinig ko, Spokes?
Tama po kayo dahil yung pong pagkakatuldok, pagkakalapat ng dulo, ng tip niya na medyo makapal na po, ay halos equivalent na yan sa 15 to 20%. Tinatanggal na po kasi natin yung ginagawa dati na masyadong pointed, pag masyadong manipis yung tip, tutuldukan ng napakaliit. Yun nga po ang problema hindi mabibilang yan pag masyadong manipis po ang ating shade.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Spokes, yung tanungin ko naman din po yung mga election hotspots natin na air, especially yung sa Abra, yung may nasunog po na eskwelahan. Ano po yung update doon? Meron na po ba tayong bagong polling precinct for that area to make sure na hindi po madidisenfranchise yung mga botante doon?
Gaya po ng nai-commit ng COMELEC, pag kami ginawa pong pananakot, hindi po tayo lilipat ng paaralan. Nangyari po sa Dadangla Elementary School sa Bangged, sinunog, hinihintay pa namin ng report po kung ito'y arson o sinadya. Pero sinadya man o hindi, doon pa rin po gagawin ng ating butuhan. Hindi natin papayagang malayo o matakot yung ating mga kababayan, ma-inconvenience pa, malayong pupuntahan. So meron naman pong 2 buildings na hindi nasunog. Yung unang building, yun po ang gagamitin natin na administrative area. Yung ikalawang building, gagamitin po natin sa mga priority polling place, senior citizens, PWDs, at mga pregnant women. Nagtatayo na po kami ng makeshift polling centers dyan. Nang sa gayon, hindi mahirapan yung ating mga kababayan, yung barangay po dyan, dyan na rin sila boboto. At isa pa pong nakita nyo, sapat pinatunayan namin yan. Yung araw po na yun, dapat ng umaga nakaschedule ang FTS. Dahil nangyari, nasunog nga po, na-delay lang po ng konti. Pero nung na-restore ang power doon po sa paaralan, nung hapon din, alas 2 ng hapon, tinuloy ang final testing and sealing. Kaya po naganap, nung araw din yun, walang delay po tayo.
Alright, sige, maraming salamat at good luck to us. Mensahe na lang po sa ating mga botante.
Last minute message.
Oo, para po sa election natin sa Lunes na.
Opo, maraming kumakalat ng mga fake news po. Ang sinasabi po natin, huwag po kayo maniwala dyan. Tignan nyo po ang Facebook page ng COMELEC, yung aming Twitter, yung aming pong iba pang mga social media outlets natin katulad ng sa Instagram ng COMELEC at ang aming website. Yan po ang totoo at tunay at trusted sources of information at ang mga partner natin ng mga media authorities po tulad po dito sa ating kausap ang News and Views. Kita nyo naman po, pinabubulaanan ang mga fake news, disinformation at misinformation at nilalabas po natin ang totoong impormasyon. Bakit? Dahil pag tama po ang impormasyon ng hawak nating lahat, tama po ang ating pagpapasya sa araw ng halalan. Maraming salamat po.
Maraming salamat, COMELEC spokesperson Rex Laudianco.
Right, Senator Sherwin Gatchalian led a review of the Department of Education's plan to strengthen the senior high school program. DepEd said the updated curriculum will focus on 5 core subjects: effective communication life skills, general mathematics, general science, and Philippine history. Students will also take elective subjects based on their intended college courses. Gatchalian suggested removing some general education subjects in college like PE and integrating them into basic education. CHED and DepEd said they will study the proposal.
We're focusing on essential competencies to prepare our students for college readiness or for apprenticeship in TESDA. And then CHED will focus on higher level cognitive skills where students are given more critical inquiry kind of skills, preparing them to specialize in their chosen careers. So even in the finalization, Senator Win, of our curriculum guides, we sat together with CHED Technical Panel for General Education Curriculum.
Now, to talk more about it, we have with us this morning Mr. Hannibal Kamwa, Executive Director for PBID. Magandang umaga po sa inyo, sir. Thanks for joining us again.
Good morning, Sir Angelo and Mama Angela, and thank you for having me again in your program.
Yes, of course. Ito na naman po ating pag-uusapan tungkol sa senior high school program. Yung reaction po ng PBID regarding this.
Well, number one po, we agree on the pilot of this strengthened senior high school program. But what is important also is to learn from the pilot. So let's say, for example, katulad ng sinabi kahapon sa Senate hearing na it would be piloted in 700 plus schools this school year. And from the pilot, magkakaroon po ng learning from that. No? Kailangan hindi natin sayangin kung ano yung natututunan sa pilot para kapag in-implement na po ito in full by the next school year, we learned already kung ano yung mga gaps at ano yung mga kailangan pang i-improve.
Yes, pero in the last, well, ang dami kasi nagsa-posted online in the last 2 to 3 years. Ang dami pong barely yung K-12 is barely implemented pa in its entirety. Some schools are still adjusting to their schedules. Pero paiba-iba daw tayo ng well, curriculum, programs. Won't this cause confusion sa mga students in terms of trying to be settled down and instead focusing on learning? Medyo chaotic ang nangyayari.
Sir, I would like to think that DepEd has already made plans for that for the implementation of the pilot, and I think As mentioned also, sinubaybayan din po kasi natin yung committee hearing kahapon. As mentioned by the representatives from the Department of Education, they have expressed that they are ready in terms of the pilot implementation. I think, sir, this also, if I may just say, this strengthening of the senior high school program, particularly on the reducing of the core subjects from 15 to 5, is a conscious effort coming from the education agencies to look at the curriculum, di ba? Ang dami from the previous years, the comments has been the curriculum is very congested, masyadong madaming asignatura, so and so. And now, with this new pilot curriculum and strengthened yung senior high school, makikita that there's focus on the 5, and then the remaining subjects would be for electives, which actually gives the learners more options, and it actually prepares them better kung ano talaga yung gusto din nila, be it the academic track or the tech pro track that will prepare them for the real world of work. In terms naman po, sir, sa sinabi po ninyo na nagkakaroon ng kalituhan or is medyo chaotic, I think it's also right to call on DepEd, particularly also doon sa school level, that the implementation of this should, even just the pilot implementation, should be really as efficient and effective. So kailangan, as what I've said nga po, if this is a pilot implementation, we should learn from the pilot. Kailangan mailabas at kung ano talaga yung mga gaps sa implementation after the pilot. And we implement that. We make adjustments. They should make adjustments before its full implementation by the school year 2026 to 2027, I mean.
Well, do you think this will also help yung ating deep-rooted problem, yung illiteracy, no? Yung recently na study natin na nakaka-graduate ng senior high school yung mga kabataan, yung mga estudyante natin, and only to find out na hindi naman pala nila naiintindihan yung kanilang mga nababasa at mga nagiging lesson sa isang classroom.
Tama po yan, ma'am, no? So kailangan nakita natin the 5 core subjects actually there is focus also on reading and numeracy, which I think aligns with what should be done following the FLEMS, the results of the FLEMS survey na napakataas ng functional illiteracy, and particularly na merong gumagraduate sa ating sistema na hindi masyadong magaling ang kanilang reading and comprehension skills. So with focusing on the core and really focusing on the basics of reading and numeracy, particularly on mathematics, ma-address ito. No? But then, as what we've said from previously, dati na namin sinasabi na dapat ang skills po kasi on numeracy and literacy should start at the early grades. So if we are thinking of the senior high school program, and it would be more of like a strengthening na or more of complementation. Kasi ang ating assumption dito is dapat pagdating niya ng senior high school, built na sa ating mga learners na meron na silang magaling na sila on literacy and numeracy and comprehension.
Yun nga po yung nakikita kasi nilang problem din, tulad po ng nasabi nyo, dapat bata pa lang sila at the age of grade 1, grade 2, nabibuild na yung foundation. Hence, nagkaroon po ng programa under the leadership of Vice President Sara Duterte, yung Catch Up Fridays, when in fact, nalaman din po natin according sa reports na bumababa din po yung number of kumbaga yung pagpasok po ng mga estudyante dahil hindi po sila pumapasok dun sa Catch Up Fridays. Do you think po ba na dapat ituloy po yung Catch Up Friday na program na yun, or we should think of more ways para po mas matatagan po yung foundation ng mga kabataan?
I think, ma'am, it's also a case-to-case basis. No? Kung titignan natin, may mga, katulad po ng lumabas sa FLEMS survey, may mga eskwelahan at merong mga probinsya at highly urbanized cities na matataas at magagaling ang kanilang mga estudyante, ang mga learners on functional literacy. So, it's not actually a blanket na one-size-fits-all approach. Kailangan po targeted. Katulad ng sinabi po natin last time, targeted dapat yung approach. So if the Catch Up Fridays is actually a blanket size or blanket one-size-fits-all approach towards addressing the illiteracy problem. Titingnan po dapat natin na dapat meron po talagang targeted na intervention on those localities, on those areas na mababa yung functional literacy rate. There are also other remediation programs na napaka-effective. Katulad po nung aking minention last time that there are pilot programs po that we implemented in PBED kung saan nakita namin na at the early years, at the early grades, especially from kinder until grade 3, mataas yung nagiging learning gains ng bata because of the interventions that we gave, particularly sa program po namin on the learning train.
So, kumbaga, hindi siya one size fits all, kumbaga. Alright, maraming salamat po sa inyong oras, Sir Hannibal Camua, Executive Director of PBED.
Thank you.
Don't go away because we're not done yet. Please stay with us. Welcome back. You're still watching News and Views here on One News.
We would like to thank also muna
of course, Buddha's Belly. It's Friday, therefore Friday. Every Friday
we have Buddha's Belly. Thank you, Marjorie Tan.
For making,
celebration na rin of the new
for making our bellies like Buddha. Kumapalaki, pambusog.
Alright, Duterte Youth Party List Chairman Ronald Cardema was supposed to file the first impeachment complaint against President Bongbong Marcos, but administrative delays have pushed the filing back until next week. Here's a report.
The first impeachment complaint against President Bongbong Marcos was supposed to be filed on Thursday. However, despite the preparation, it appears the case has hit a temporary roadblock when Ronald Cardema, chairperson of the Duterte Youth Party List, arrived at the lower house that afternoon to file the complaint. House Secretary General Reginald Velasco was not available to receive it. Despite this setback, Cardema remains undeterred. He confirmed that he plans to refile the impeachment complaint early next week. The complaint itself hinges on serious allegations. Cardema has cited two major grounds for the impeachment of President Marcos: culpable violation of the Constitution and betrayal of public trust. These charges stem from allowing the alleged surrender of a Filipino citizen, former President Rodrigo Duterte, to foreigners.
Tayong mga buhay na Pilipino ang pinagbabasihan ng soberanya. Kaya nung surrender mo ang isang Pilipino sa mga dayuhan, nung araw na yon, March 11, surrender mo ang soberanya ng bansa. So, yun ang culpable violation of the Constitution.
Cardema argues that Duterte, a Filipino citizen, should have been given the chance to face trial in a Philippine court. The former president is currently in The Hague, Netherlands, facing charges of crimes against humanity over his war on drugs. For News 5, I'm Marian Enriquez. We are One News.
European Union ambassadors mark Europe Day 2025 in Manila, reaffirming deeper cooperation with the Philippines on trade, climate action, and regional security. Mobile Journal Denise Valdez Sancho has the report.
Ambassadors from the European Union member states gathered for Europe Day 2025 at the Peninsula Manila on Thursday. Headed by Ambassador Massimo Santoro of the EU delegation of the Philippines, he emphasized the EU's promotion of a rules-based international order, particularly on the issue of the West Philippine Sea, in a speech.
Together with the Philippines, we also push to strengthen the role of global institutions.
Foreign Affairs Under-Secretary Teresa Lazaro reaffirmed this, alongside the topic of the Free Trade Agreement eliminating tariffs, allowing improved market access between EU and the Philippines.
A number of EU countries are very like-minded with us on the issues of the South China Sea. And I've mentioned, of course, the Free Trade Agreement, which is about, hopefully next year, we will be able to, hopefully,
on matters of climate change, Santoro highlighted the EU's commitment to the goals of the Paris Agreement, underscoring climate change mitigation and adaptation as crucial parts of the Global Gateway investment agenda.
The European Union, together with its member states and financial institutions, is investing in infrastructure projects in the Philippines, supporting the Philippines in its transition towards a green and circular economy and a digital economy.
Continued support to the country in times of disasters was also mentioned by the ambassador.
The Philippines is an excellent partner for us. I cannot imagine a single sector where we do not cooperate together and where we don't eat well. So it's with great satisfaction that we could celebrate together this day.
Mobile journalist Denise Valdesancho. We are One News.
Now in sports, the stage is set at the Big Dome this Sunday as UAAP Season 87 volleyball finals kicks off with powerhouse clashes in both men's and women's divisions. The NU Bulldogs battled the FEU Tamaraos in Game 1 of the UAAP men's finals at 1 p.m. NU is eyeing a 5th straight title and a 10th straight finals win led by Leo Ordiales and Jay Disquitado. FEU, the top seed, looks to end NU's dynasty with fresh legs and depth. At 5 p.m., NU and DLSU renew their rivalry in the women's finals. Bella Belen and Alyssa Solomon power the top-seeded Lady Bulldogs. Meantime, LaSalle rides momentum from 2 big wins with Angel Canino and Shivana Laput leading the charge.
And yes, we do have a new pope.
Yes. Well, kanina pala sabi ko 4 languages, 5 languages. Ang nawala ay Portuguese. So yes. Spanish, Italian, Portuguese, English, at saka French.
And of course, it's a weekend.
And that helped him siguro connect with other popes. Popes tuloy Cardinal.
Oo.
Ay, joke lang.
Okay.
Happy Friday.
Happy Friday, everyone. Thank you, Buddha's Belly. And with that, I'd like to leave everyone with a quote that maybe will help you get through the weekend better. And I will give you shepherds after my own heart, who will feed you with knowledge and understanding. Jeremiah 3:15. And that wraps up today's episode of News and Views.
Join us again on Monday. I'm Angela Lagunsad Castro.
I'm Angelo Castro III. We are One News.
All sides, all the time.